All right, welcome back to radio. Or sorry, so used to doing the podcast, FreedoniaCon 2025, and I have our great, absolutely the most talented ever, or art director for Earthdawn, James Austin.
Hi, Andy. Thanks.
Oh,
You
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 know
say
that I
such
love
nice
your
things
work.
all the time. Ah, well, hopefully we can do some good stuff today. Yes, I am.
Yeah, I. So my understanding is you've been working on these iconic characters.
Correct. Exclusively at FreedoniaCon. We did two last year. We did a Scrang Sword Master, and we did a Troll Warrior last
So
year.
I actually asked a table that I was playing on. It's the first time I really got to play fourth edition. And one of the guys was like, we should do an Obsidian Gauntlet. Apparently that's very Earthdawn, very iconic. I was like, okay, that sounds like something fun to do. So he offered up his character as a cool example. And so I sent you a little bit about his character, and he's here to help answer any other questions.
Well,
And I know that he made the comment that his character wasn't exactly the brightest, sharpest crayon in
That
the
was
box, but
that
not
was in the talk. Yes.
yeah, not all obsidian gauntlets would be that way. But this particular one, his particular one is. Um,
Right.
I remember that he's apparently not the prettiest obsidian person.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what else did he put as far as description because there wasn't a lot. But
I think there was skin like granite, eyes like rubies.
yes,
Um,
that sounds right.
now is he dumb or is he just young and naive?
Oh, that's a good question.
His vocabulary is limited to his name. So he's really young. He's
I mean,
a bit of a simpleton.
he's both.
I mean, he could have just been dumped out of his life rock like a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean that would be hard.
They're
So,
they're literal.
all
Happened at an age of 101. So Oh,
right.
okay.
So
Just got out of the life rock.
he's a slow learner. It's okay. So it's skin like granite, flecked with silver and jade. Eyes were ruby, and there's a group pattern item, which was his first stone rune carving, which is a piece of granite flecked with silver and jade that's made into a mini hymn. So basically, he has a little stone statue of himself.
Excellent.
But the big
Um,
thing with Obsidian, you know a lot about. You've drawn them. You're very versed in those. Gauntlets are kind of like a cross between One Punch Man and a tank.
that was what the vibe I got from the document was that yeah, it's sort of almost like a yeah, One Punch Man was exactly that they spend their time honing their bodies into a weapon that focus on just a single like one attack.
It's like a elemental monk.
All right.
Kind of reminds me a
So
little bit like of Airbenders or what would Firebender? What was that show? The Last
Avatar?
Airbender. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it reminds me a little of that too, except I think that they can call on any element. They're not restricted to one.
They can
Michael,
only they can only call on one element at a time, though.
right? But any of them, but one at a time. Okay, I'm making sure I wasn't crazy. Thank you for making sure I'm not crazy.
So just one of the things I was thinking about just in terms of process today was trying a thing where we treat this less like a drawing and more like a painting. All still digital, But we're gonna try to do a process, something closer that, yeah, we treat it less like a drawing, more like a painting, I guess, is what I'm thinking. So
Well, I'm
what that
excited.
effectively means, uh, effectively what that means is that we're going to be working less with lines, more with shapes. And so we'll see. I mean, I did start by sort of tracing, by tracing the silhouette, our silhouette here, and it's still. Why is this not working for me? Something's still not working. He's
Oh, and he is a quest where Floren is. Don't ask how that happened. It was a GM question. I was in the middle of reading The Wheel of Time and said, yeah, I'm just going to steal Hopper's little personality quirk to answer this question. And the GM decided to run with it.
so when drawing or painting, I guess, one of the, in my opinion, at any rate, one of the most important things that you can do is work out the silhouette of your character. Again, focusing on shapes. Um, that the silhouette is the biggest shape that your character has, because it is literally just it's their whole body. So uh, if the silhouette of your character doesn't have the appropriate feel, the pose, the attitude, ideally you will be able to feel the character's, um, maybe not, not details, but you should be able to get correct impressions about the character from, uh, from from every shape on their body, but certainly their biggest shape, which is the, like I said, like, silhouette. Um, and so that's what we're working on right this second, is making sure that even without any definition inside of the shape, or very little definition inside of the shape, um, that we'll be able to get some feeling about how he's standing, how he's feeling at the moment. When I got sort of monk like vibes from the description, from the text. And so I think we want him. I was hoping to make him feel, and I think Obsidimen are also famously quite stoic as well. So we want him sort of, uh, I don't know, maybe he could be holding his little, the sort of the, I don't want to say fetish because that's not quite right, but his little statue of himself. And I think I've made him too big for my canvas. I think that's my problem.
So I like this. Now he's flying. That's good. Flying Obsidiman is
But
awesome. Like a
Yes,
gargoyle.
and very on brand for Wall.
I'm teasing you.
I don't know. James could do a magic carpet under his feet.
You could.
Oh, and the legs are gone.
If you do, I'll give you a shiny quarter.
What, a magic carpet?
Yeah.
My goodness, a shiny quarter, that's got to be worth at least like $3 Canadian.
Yes, that's totally how that works.
So I think I had made him a little too squat, I think. I
Oh,
think
I like
Obsidimen
this better.
should definitely be wide, but they're not dwarves. They're just, they're built like refrigerators, very tall and very wide. So again, this is part of the reason I like working digitally, is that if this were a canvas, like a proper canvas, I would have found myself in a lot of trouble having to resize all of that
Yeah, I was
stuff
talking
that
to
I,
Dawn about that last night. The ability to make changes on the digital format is so much nicer with layers and things like that. If you have to change something, it you have a lot easier time doing it once you get used to it.
if yes, you still have to be very, very you still have to be very, very organized with your layers in order to use them effectively. Like if you're not careful, well, I mean, for instance, in this image, I'm up to layer 107. I've been doing a bunch of stuff in this file. Um, but if you are not organized with your layers, then they can get very unruly very fast.
So how do you organize your layers?
Um, it depends. Actually, most recently, um, I thought I haven't been. I've been trying to like I said, treat it like I'm painting in like uh, a little bit more physically. Um, I think very much like what Dawn said last night. Once the very first one is just sort of a rough sketch or a thumbnail. I have just a little bit more of a bent knee here, and I don't know exactly why. Um, basically, I try to think of it in terms of the the thumbnail, a sketch, maybe proper line work, and then a layer with shadows, a layer with light, a layer with color, so that you can do all of these things. You treat all of these things individually, so that if you like the color, you want to keep the color, but you need to change a shadow, you're able to edit all of these things um, individually. Uh, but that can also become sort of time consuming. So one of the things that I've been trying to work on is getting faster, where I use fewer layers and just sort of go for broke. Sometimes even just one layer, and just put it all on one layer, and uh, just try to have that that be it. So there's no wrong way to do it. I find if you're beginning, I was very happy for the keeping layers organized and stuff into shadow layers and light layers, and everything was very, very helpful when I was first learning. But now I'd like to think, after using Photoshop for like 20 years, I'd like to think that I can play with it a little bit now. I think it's still.
Hey, James, that's what I was wondering about is have you done a lot of painting on canvas?
Yes, but not in a really long time.
Uh-huh.
Went to school. I was a classically trained painter
Uh-huh.
uh, in oil painting. It started with it's really neat. They had a very academic approach to it, where you started with a pencil and paper, and then you moved on to charcoal, which is harder to control. It moves
Uh-huh.
around, because a pen or a pencil, when you put it on the paper, the mark on the paper, goes where the pencil is. It does, other than like smudging with your hand and stuff, it doesn't tend to move around the canvas, um, or go anywhere unexpected. Charcoal um, starts to get a little bit more is it will do that. It has a little bit more say freedom to it, but it will move around. It will move around the canvas in unexpected ways. So they have you working with paint brushes and pushing charcoal on the canvas, and
I
then
have a
and then
question.
moved on to. Yeah.
So my question is partially for the audience and for the character's original owner. Is the loincloth really the thing for Obsidiman? Because if I was an Obsidiman, I would not be running around in a loincloth. So, I mean, I know that that's a very traditional picture that James has up there with the loincloth thing. But is that really what they wore? Anybody? Anybody have a loincloth Obsidiman? What do you guys usually have them wearing? I need to know.
I would assume pants of some sort.
Yeah, they usually want to blend in with the name givers that they're currently with.
And, pants might have pockets.
Pockets are good. I'm pro pockets. Very angry with women's clothing choices. Debbie, you back me on this, right?
That is definitely true. Even if we do have pockets, sometimes they're tiny.
What is with the stupid girl tiny pockets? Like, you can't put your phone in that. What do you can barely put keys in those things. What is the point of these? Or fake pockets? Men's clothes never have fake pockets. Women's clothing will have fake pockets. They'll make it look like there was a pocket, but no pocket.
There are some men's clothing that do have fake pockets, but they tend to be like jackets and shit.
So I've never seen fake pockets on men's stuff. I did once see at a Red Racks thing, there was a lady and she was mad because this coat was torn up. And what it was is that it looked like it had a slit where you would have a pocket, but it was just a sewn slit. And I didn't have the heart to explain to her that it's because it's a gentleman's overcoat. It's not supposed to have a pocket. That's so that you would put your hands through the coat into your actual pockets. It's a very specific style of gentleman's overcoat. And I don't think that that woman would have gotten it. And then I'd have to explain why I know about gentlemen's overcoats and, dress shirts and, French cuffs for cufflinks and all that crud. By the way, it's an easy answer. I don't know any man who does his own shopping. I have done a lot of their shopping. They drive me a little crazy. Be like, what size shirt? They want a dress shirt with French cuffs. So you have to have cufflinks. That's fine. But then the answer is never medium. Dress shirts are not sized by letter. Men. But yes, no, I've actually never seen fake pockets even on men's coats. So I will have to keep my eye out for that. So James, this is shaping up really good. Does everybody? I think that the pose is good. I think I like the pose. I mean, right now he looks kind of like he's got like a hooded, like a hood up. I kind of like that.
Yeah, we're gonna put like a cowl.
Yeah, I like that.
Cowl on him.
I think that goes into some of what Debbie was saying and about them trying to blend in with people. And I think that that would kind of cover and hide their head shape a little better and might make them look less scary Obsidiman. What do you think?
I think that's a fair assessment. If Obsidimen in general encounter difficulty interacting with other name giver races.
So
and,
Brad
then
Brad says that unless the clothes are like really tight, that the friction against the stone would rub them. I think that he's got a point that it would have more upkeep, but also think about it like fabric softener. I bet you all their clothes are really soft after a week. Like pummeling them on rocks in the old days.
I thought if they have rocky skin, I guess I never really thought about Obsidimen getting chafing the same way we might. Yeah, but I think could be right that their clothing would either need to be really tight or really loose, so that there's no room for medium.
Yeah, it is that. Yeah. See, these are things that happen in Earthdawn discussions. But what if the Obsidiman's legs chafed? No, nobody likes that. Chafed is no fun. I really do love that
Well, these are
that Earthdawn 1879 players get so into their characters that they have these talks. Yes, they've been rock tumbled. Ha ha. Good job, Brad.
Well, their shoulders are wide, and usually you stand with your feet as wide apart as your shoulders, so they maybe wouldn't have as much leg chafing.
Oh, see, I figure they have big big thighs. Yeah, to keep all of that upright, you'd have to be stout, because they heavy.
Yeah.
But the fact that we are having the discussion on whether or not the Obsidiman's thighs chafe, that is Earthdawn perfection.
To me, his pose looks like he's ready to mess with someone.
I'm liking it. And the cowl gives him almost a mysterious, sinister look right now. What would Wall
Let's have a little
think?
Doctor Doom thing going on here a little
Well,
bit.
considering the game that he's currently in, and it's in Jarrus, and the Eye Opens have invaded, and he's on the most wanted list, the cowl is a must.
All right.
Now no one will know who I am. Excellent.
I mean, if all he ever says is Wall, I think that might be a giveaway when he opens his mouth. Just throw that out.
Yeah.
Just a little. But I'm liking him.
Some Eye Open silver officer comes up to him and is like, "Do you know who this man is?" Shows him a picture. Do you know who this name giver is? Wall.
No, I'm going to put the picture on the wall later, but do you know who this is? Wall. Look, I know we put the notices up on the wall, but for right now, could you just tell me if you know who this guy is? Wall. Fuck it, walk away. So long ago when the earth was green, one of my first Shadowrun characters, we had a kind of you actually were playing two characters because it was a small group. We only had 3 players. So one of the 2 players I had was a troll whose name was Bob that she rescued from a circus. Bob had a better vocabulary than Wall, but we won't say it was the best vocabulary. But he became well known for literally like ripping someone's limb or head off and then like hitting them with it when he got mad. Turns out when things are that big, you don't piss him off. I feel like Wall is big enough that he's the don't piss that off type. So is Wall more of a don't piss it off type, or is he a little more laid back and jovial? Because I feel like he's a don't piss me off.
Yeah, you don't make Wall angry. Things that make Wall angry tend to get turned into mush.
Wait. Is it the scene with Loki in the Hulk where it's smash throwing him around? Have you seen that scene?
Loki got off easy.
Loki got off easy. Okay.
Yeah, if you go and look at Wall's character sheet, you'll notice that I max out strength and toughness, and then the whole body control thing, and yeah, he hits really hard.
I guess then the next question is do the dice like you? Because the dice never like me.
It depends.
I guess one good thing is we don't have to worry about a weapon because gauntlets are melee based. They're hands
Gauntlets
on.
are the weapon.
Yes, they are the weapons, so they don't carry other weapons. And so we know he has like a little mini wolf figurine. Does he have any other like distinguishing items?
Mm, let's see. He's currently wearing some Bloodsworn lattice and has bracers of Obsidimen strength. And has a light quartz around his neck.
So James, can we add the
Yeah.
bracers and the light quartz maybe? Are those something that we could add? Or no?
Bracers,
Bracers?
absolutely. I'd be a little bit concerned about the light quartz. I mean, we could have it on the outside of his cowl, like there.
Yeah, pretty much. As we found the
I'm trying to
original
make James's life hard. Mwahaha.
the original care that Jairus decided to build before going, Ian, no, we're going to do the Citadel thing.
You know, for how little time you've actually had, James, this is shaping up really well. Because you realize we're only a half hour in. And if
I'm
you were
always
to
fascinated by how Haya and Don just for an hour of effort get something so polished and
right?
looks
Like
nice.
if you
Yeah.
showed this to a Earthdawn player, they'd say that's an Obsidimen. And we're 27 minutes in and we chit-chatted for the first 5 at least.
Well, that's part of what I was talking about earlier with the shapes, like right from the get-go. Ideally, you should be able to walk away at almost any moment during the process and have it be recognizable as what you want it to be. It doesn't have to be everything doesn't have to be highly rendered. Everything doesn't have to be super well defined. But if your underlying shapes, and again, starting with the big shapes and moving to the small shapes, so uh, your big shapes, if your big shapes are correct or look the way you want them to look, then you can put any kind of small shape you want on top on top of them and get finer and finer detail. But if the big shapes are correct, then yeah, it should ideally look like what you want it to look like at basically any moment uh, during the process. I just sort of blathered on there. I hope that made sense.
No, you're doing great.
But if you notice, like, there's no one of the things, like I was mentioning, they've been trying to treat it like a painting. So we're basically skipping the stage um, of lines where I haven't done a single line yet. Every single thing here, I mean, that's kind of getting close right there. But um, nothing is outlined. Nothing is being defined by lines. Everything is being defined by shapes. And that was one of the things I was hoping to do. So I think we've met with at least a modicum of success here.
I think it's great. I do have a question that's related, but not something I want you to change with this. So Obsidimen don't really have a gender. They're rock people. They're born out of rock.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
But the characters are often played with a more female fill or a more male fill, and I think a lot of them are more male, but not all of them. If you were doing a female Obsidimen, what type of things would you do to make it come off more feminine? If that makes sense.
Oh my.
Yeah, I'm full of the hard questions
I mean,
today.
there are classic tropes visual tropes for female species.
Yes, but we're not putting boobs on a reptile.
So yeah, in this instance, there's no physical difference between a male Obsidian and a female Obsidian.
I mean, I think you could make them more a slighter frame. I think you could.
That'd probably be a good start. They could have a slightly smaller frame, slightly less pronounced brow, jaw, a smaller nose, larger eyes. In general, visually, if you want to represent a very masculine character, you tend to do things like everything is angles versus a more feminine character is curves.
Oh, okay.
And of course, so there were things that that could be done.
So I thought of something very un-PC to say.
All right. Well,
Do
I
you
don't know. This is for
remember?
posterity.
Oh goodness, 20 some odd years ago, and I think she's passed away now. But there was a wrestler named China.
Yeah, she died.
Which is sad because she seemed like an interesting person. But if you remember her in the beginning, and then she went through and she had some plastic surgery done, where she had her jaw thinned out and some other things. James kind of reminded me of that process from China to when she altered herself.
Right.
Talking about the jaw. But it did. I'm sad that she passed away, though. She was a really interesting person. I should make you make a female Obsidimen one of these days. Maybe next year. Year after.
Oh, there you go. Well, we did a similar. We had not a similar conversation, but we had this conversation about Scrang
Yes.
last year because our sword master was meant to be a lady, and we ended up and again it was very much the same thing where she had a slighter frame. I think I had started with the intent of doing a male Scrang, and I can't remember how we landed on doing a female, but I was like, all right, sure, why not? And I was still in sort of the silhouette phase at the beginning, so everything just kind of got thinned out a little bit before moving into the interior of the shapes.
Do you remember at the very beginning when Dawn started the Champions Challenge? Do you remember the very beginning when he drew some female to Scrang?
I actually don't.
You don't? That's where we're not letting the lizard people have boobs. Because
oh yes,
yeah,
reptilian. That's strictly a mammalian thing,
right?
Lizard, but reptile people don't. Yeah.
It was a great discussion on the how do we portray them as more feminine without giving them what we as mammals often think of as female. And so that's why I asked about the Obsidimen, because again, there are people who are going to play more feminine Obsidimen people. And I think it's fun to portray some ideas of what that could look like. So
I saw in an older Earthdawn edition a portrait of Obsidimen that was female, that had a headdress on their head that was very elaborate, but also was like a lot of strings, almost like a netting on top of their head. And it was just a head and shoulder shot, but it really looked like, had the impression of being female.
I think that's a good solid point. Accessories.
It could absolutely be, yeah, like a fashion thing.
Yeah, to Scrang captains who are almost always female wear a particular earring And that's how other Tiskrang recognize them as a captain.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
I learn something every day at this. I don't know how James does it. We're now 36 minutes in, and that dude has a face and clothing and absolutely reads Obsidimen. In your little example pictures, is that bluish one that's next to the head of the orange guy? Oh, no, that's still a guy.
Yeah, they're all pretty male coded.
No, technically, Obsidimen don't have gender, but
We were talking about that. But they play, people play them more masculine or more feminine depending on how they see their character. But yeah, they technically do not have genders.
Yes, but just looking, I mean, even if you look at this gentleman here, I say gentleman, this
He
name
reads
here,
male.
uh, the broad shoulders, the really wide pronounced brow, great big hands. These are traditionally more masculine features visually.
But I really like him. It's amazing what you do and so fast. I mean, I would already have my stick figure done by now. I just want you to know. But a circle and 5 lines is so much easier to draw.
Well, that'll be the goal. One day, Andy, one day I'll be as fast as you.
I don't think so. Stick figure's infinitely easier. Although I have to figure out what my exact look for Obsidimen stick figures is. And it may be that instead of just like a line for a body, they get like a rectangle. Because they're blocky. Gonna put that up there with some of Brad's puns. There you go. Brad says the best way to put it would be male or female presenting, which is probably, yeah. Bye, Pancake. I guess, anybody ever play Dragon Age? There's a rock creature. One of the first game or the 1.5 game. It was a downloadable content thing that you added. I think her name was like Shale.
Played Origins way back in the day.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was part of Origins or if it was the one that came after Origins, but it was a downloadable content. And it was a rock person and her name was Shale, I think. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Because she always reminded me of Obsidimen in her own way. Not that that's exactly what she looks like, but because Obsidimen had that head shape that's very distinct. Just gonna still this to. And jump back over here.
My daughter played a troll character and her background was that she was adopted by an Obsidiman when she was ejected from her clan, and she called him Obsididad.
I like it. So there's a
Yeah, I thought it was
picture of Shale. And again, the head shape's wrong, but sure reminded me of Obsidian people. But I like Obsididad. That's pretty awesome. So did Wall ever adopt anybody?
Nope.
Not ready to be Obsididad?
Nope.
Michael, have you ever played an Obsidian?
As a matter of fact, yes. My first Earthdawn character I ever played was an Obsidiman, and I made similar use of the body control talent. So it was very much a hit hard damage character.
Was it a warrior or a gauntlet?
It was just a generic warrior. It was before I knew pretty much anything about Earthdawn, and I just found the that was back when I would pick one concept for a character and just build the character around that, so that like the body control talent that character was maximized. It sounds like the character we're building here is very similar mindset of anything you can do to maximize damage.
See, I always think it's the best thing to do when you're starting a new system is to play a fighter. It's like the most linear, easy, usually character to play. So I am all pro on starting it out as a fighter. So at this point, since you've been doing Earthdawn for a while, what's your favorite character type now?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like discipline, you mean, or just?
Come on. Tell me, what's your favorite name giver, class, discipline, combo?
That's a good question. I don't really play the game that much anymore.
I just got to play not that long ago. I've GM'd it, but I never get to play.
I do find Obsidian. I always had like I said, I started with Obsidian, and I've always had players who play Obsidian play them very interestingly. So that I think that's definitely one of my more favorite races from a lore side and like role playing side. Mechanically, I think I like the Tiskrang best because they have the tail combat. It's always interesting to play around with that. Again, that's more the unique things that only they can do.
How about you, Miss Debbie?
I like Windlings. Windlings are very unique as well. And they have the flying aspect, of course, which is also unique. And they always have astral sight. So that's a characteristic of them. So it just adds a big dimension to their existence.
So do you find that a lot of people play Windlings like a lot of people play Kinder?
I don't know what Kinder are.
Oh,
Dragonlance.
Dragonlance, yes. They're a D&D trope of these little like halflings who are kind of kleptos. They don't really see it as stealing. They see it as borrowing the item that's currently theirs because it's in their hand. And usually causes strife because the players play the hijinks too high, and it becomes
Yeah.
more of a distraction than it does flavor, if that makes sense. You know,
Uh-huh.
stealing from the paladin over and over again and then wondering why you got into a fight. Well, you see, when a paladin meets a right? So I've had some people who treats windlings in much the same way. They're just silly, goofy characters that are just wandering around being silly, goofy things. When, I mean, all the lore says that as a whole, that's not in the least. They're actually quite serious creatures, just like everything else is.
Mhm.
So I just didn't know if you'd had a lot of people play them silly rather than actually deadly and serious.
I would say that they played them childlike, but when they got into combat, then they were serious. But in their interactions, I wouldn't call it silly. I would call it childlike.
So more naive than silly.
Um, I wouldn't call it naive either. It's more like just talking all the time, just, stream of consciousness and just, observant and pointing out what they see and things like that. They like to do jokes too, so there was a lot of joking around.
I think that's good. Like I said, I have met people who, as soon as you mention windlings, it's, oh, those guys. I'm like, what? Windlings
Yeah.
can be just as deadly as any other name giver race. Now,
Especially the magicians, because the magicians, their spells are just as powerful as any other name giver.
oh yeah. So now with Obsidimen, unlike certain other games, Obsidimen can be anything they want. They can be magicians. Do we see more? I think I've seen more Obsidimen as physical fighters than magicians. Is that just me, or everybody else see that too?
That's generally like that. Like they're playing it's playing your strengths. Like if you're going, the Obsidian has such a high base strength that if you were going to play a fighter, it just naturally pairs well with that intent because you're going to have a high base damage. And then on the flip side, like there are better characters that have a higher starting power and perception. That if you're trying to min max or in that aspect, Obsidian is not a quote unquote correct character to pick. That being said, lots of people like to break that stereotype and do that. The original set of Watertown Blues Adventures that Island wrote and I made the characters for. If anybody remembers that series, we specifically pushed out some of those tropes. So we didn't. Our spellcaster was an Obsidian. Our archer was a windling, and so we kind of played up against, and then we made threat items to kind of get around the inherent strength deficit of the windling and the perception deficit that you get as an Obsidian. So there are ways to play off and be special and unique, and a lot of people actually come up with similar ideas in that vein.
I can't imagine an Obsidian illusionist, but I think an elementalist would be very fitting and would go along with their strength as well.
Certainly, their belief system and their lore was definitely tied. I think anytime I've ever seen an Obsidian spellcaster, they've always been an elementalist. Because the bond with the land and the earth definitely pairs well with their mindsets and whatnot.
My daughter played an Obsidian that was a warrior at first, but then she added Horror Stalker to the discipline, and that was pretty amazing. It's an excellent Horror Stalker.
See, I don't like min-maxing. I like unusual characters and character concepts. So I'm, of course, the person who will want to be like, I'm going to make it an illusionist. That's an Obsidiman. And stoic as hell.
Yeah.
Until, he's not. Wahaha.
That's how I like to play. If you have a choice between flavor or maxing out numbers, I will always choose flavor.
I've occasionally done this in video games just to my own detriment. Like, yes, I know the pants would give me a bonus, but this character wears no pants. For the entirety of the game, there will be no pants. Why? Because I could. Who needs bonuses for armor? That's ridiculous. So I know a lot of people, GMs will do, and there are certain games that push it, the idea of giving your character some sort of flaw, because flaws are part of what makes us human and unique. What would Wall's flaw, if you had to pick, what would his flaw be?
Oh, he's a dumbass.
Okay, no, I know he's not very bright, but as a dumbass, do you mean he does like hold my bear stuff? Or
Oh, yeah. Fairly recently, again, we're exploring this half-finished care under Jarrus, and there was a hot spring. Ball decided to go take a bath. Obsidiman can't swim. I completely forgot.
but he can breathe underwater, right? That works. Actually, do they need to breathe? I mean, they're rock people.
Yep.
Do they even have lungs? Michael.
Yep, they have lungs. They need food and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that's why you don't want to get your Obsidimen next to a deep pool, because if they can't swim, they sink. If they sink, they suffocate.
All right, I'm gonna need guidance on how rock people need lungs.
They have blood. They don't. They're not made. They're not just living rocks. Their skin is just rock like. They still have organs. They still need to breathe. They still need to. Well, they don't really need to eat.
They do need to eat.
They need to eat, but they don't need to eat food.
What do they eat?
They eat rocks.
Okay, so you're telling me that the rock thing that eats rocks has lungs.
I feel like, yeah, maybe I'm misremembering that.
See, now we need to look this up. Debbie, you're in charge of making sure we're on the straight and narrow. Do Obsidimen eat rocks?
Establishing
I have not heard that. I don't remember reading that. But they do eat something, I know.
I'm just wrong then. Got too many.
I'm not sure.
You might not be wrong. Now we have to go and
It might have been a joke in passing that I made once and just never corrected myself.
But now I gotta find out. Look what you've done. Let's see if Google knows. Do Obsidimen eat? First off, it hates my spelling. From Earthdawn.
Oh no! Despite their rocky appearance, Obsidimen are flesh and blood, need food, water, and air to survive, just like everybody else. There you go.
Oh, so they need real food.
They eat regular food. Yep. They is people.
See,
fleshy rock people.
Even during art streams, we're educational.
In my mind, they were like dragons from what is that? My Little Pony, like they eat jewels or something.
You could do that at a table. That would be hilarious.
I'm sure somebody did that at a table as like a joke. and I committed it to the back corner of my mind, and that's where I'm drawing this memory from.
I think it's great. Then you can have it say things like, "But I like onyx. It tastes so much like oranges." How the hell do you know what an orange tastes like? Tastes like onyx. But you don't even eat oranges. Tastes like onyx. It'd be great.
And our Obsidimen is looking great.
Thank you. Yeah,
Isn't it
he's
amazing what James can do?
It's very impressive.
we just it's just shapes. Every once in a while,
Ye-
I do a thing for my wife is a teacher, and I do a thing in the school, and it always blows the kids' minds when I say, I want you to do first thing I want you to do, I want you to draw 7 things for me, and they're very, very easy. Just bear with me. 1, we want a straight line. 2, I want a curved line. 3, I want an angle. 4, I want an S. 5, I can't remember what 5 was. 1 was a dot. May have just been anyway, but like these things, and I was like, if you can draw these 5 things, then you can draw anything. And
I will tell you right now, that's a
don't.
lie. That's
But
a lie.
it's everything starts with lines. Everything
I would like
it's
to
all about
remind
how
James in the
it's
audience
all
that I have gone mano a mano with James. And nope.
that, I don't know, yours had glitter glue. I
It
thought
That
this
is
did.
one.
that
And
is
I
true.
still
I,
lost.
I
And I still lost. Mine was 3-dimensional. It drew blood. There was a blood sacrifice and had glitter glue, and I still lost.
I
Although
tell you that
a
the
certain
secret
GM used it as I believe a monster.
nice.
All
Had
right,
a
we're at the almost at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna have to drop off here. But I think James is going for another. Are we finishing this, or are we going? This goes for another hour.
It goes on for another
This
hour.
goes for another hour.
That's what I thought. So I'll be interested to see the final product. Have fun, guys.
Bye, Michael.
Yep, I'm gonna get ready for my game too, so I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, Debbie.
Bye, Debbie. It's just all about how you arrange them. All right, so halfway through, what do we got? We got some good stuff
You got a lot of good
happening.
stuff.
So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to. Should we try to do color? Do I have enough time to do color? Why not? Let's. So we got to move into basically gradually getting into smaller and smaller shapes, so we can put some actual rocky texture on the skin. If we do color, we can get his ruby colored eyes. So let's do that. So everything so far has been on a single layer, and so and everything is working reasonably well. So I'll create a new layer, and we'll start getting into throwing down some color. What is the color of granite, pray tell? Do we just leave it? Do we just what have I got going on here?
What would you call the base color for his granite? A gray for wall?
Because granite is also quite famously speckled.
Yeah. And I remember it saying something about like silver and jade.
All right. Well, you know what? Maybe
I'm
I'll
going to go
just
pull
cheat
up the
and I'll
piece of paper. There's a
just
reason
use
I did that.
I'm just going to cheat, and I'm going to use a
Yeah.
texture off the internet.
Granite flecked with silver and jade. So I'm assuming it's a kind of a, yeah, that looks like a granite.
This is a countertop sample.
That works, I think. I mean, it needs some green to it, though.
Yeah, we can do that. highlights. I'll make it. That's not really what I want. All right, we'll stick with this for the moment. And all that we're going to do is we're going to find parts with his skin. I don't know if you guys can actually see my cursor, but I am attempting to.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, good.
You're doing one of those kind of
Select.
magic wand lasso-y things that I see artists do.
Yes.
Where you like
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so here's our selection. So we'll grab our invert our selection and then just delete everything else. There you go. Actually, that's kind of cool. I mean, I think an actual granite might need to be a little bit less. So
Kind of
what
reminds
I
me of a
do
calico cat.
a little bit.
It's not necessarily bad.
So we take out some of the middle.
This looks like some technomancy.
I'm altering the values. Oh, actually, you know what? I think darker is actually kind of nice. Okay, so I started lighter, but no, I think darker is better. We'll just try to make the overall effect a little more subtle. There we go. Now, I think that's too much now. There. Cool. And in some areas, we're going to have it be just a little less pronounced. Probably turn that down a bit. Actually,
So,
I really like the shapes that it created around his face, so I think that's pretty good.
So I was going to say, do you use a tablet? Don was talking about his tablet.
I also have a Cintiq. I have
Those
a
are apparently
Cintiq.
expensive.
They are. It took me, I had to do many, many commissions in order before my wife would let me spend any money on it. So nothing came out of the budget. Everything came out of doing commissions for folks, for people.
Speaking of which, you can always hit James up for a commission. You can tell he's very talented. And then you could say that you have commissioned art from the great, glorious art director for Earthdawn. That's some bragging rights right there.
That's a thing. That can happen. You
So
will
that
then
he can
have
buy
to.
cool toys, like a tablet that's really pricey, because I kind of looked up that one.
Yep. 27-inch Cintiq Pro. I didn't get the
Oof.
touch screen because it's just a personal pet peeve of mine. I cannot stand it when people touch my screens.
So I had a touchscreen on my last laptop.
Mhm.
And the problem I had is that then any other time I sat down at a computer, I would automatically go to touch things and then be pissed because it doesn't work that way. So I've gone back to no touchscreens, which is easier because then I don't expect things to do that. Nothing makes you look stupider than touching on a screen going, why doesn't this work?
For me, it's it's a thing I have to suffer through at work a great deal. People come over, you're trying to show them something on your computer. He's got a evil Sith vibe all of a sudden with those ruby eyes.
He kind of does, doesn't he?
We'll find a way to make him look just slightly, like 20% less evil.
I don't know. Does Wall usually look this evil?
It depends whether you've pissed him off or not.
There we go. He might have to be a little angry then.
Oh, Dire Sith made a comment. I needed to check the chat about hated pigeons. Yeah, Shale hated pigeons. It was a whole thing. Brad never played an Obsidiman, but Elven Wizard has a deep connection. Oh, but he had an Elven Wizard that had a deep connection with them. They called him Rock Brother, and he learned how to commune with them during the dreaming. That's cool. Manic Pixie Girls. I'm assuming that's a Windling comment. So Brad said he did play a Windling Weaponsmith once, which that was the character that you and I had toyed with. James.
Yeah.
And it's something I've
For the
considered
BC.
for the bestiary that we went a different direction with. But instead of the Windling Shaman, we could do a Windling Element or a Windling Weaponsmith. Why don't you think about it?
We absolutely could. Well, I was
Which
thinking
attracts you better?
I think I think the shaman might still be fun, but truth be told, as I was listening to you last night at the drink and draw, I think we might need to get you your scary hag
Really?
creature.
That could be a lot of fun. I need a scary hag fairy creature for my 1879 game, to which I'm going to try to kill them all with. I mean, that's a thing as a GM. You know.
Oh, I didn't do his belly. That's a little Billy. Oops, I forgot. There we go. We'll just soft light. We'll do the same thing. Select his skin. I mean, he could be wearing a shirt.
You know, I'm going to leave it up to you. Because
What the hag?
yeah,
Give me a
if
thought.
we do the hag instead, if you want to do the hag and the fairy hag monster instead, I'm all for that. Because technically, it could be a horror, and not.
Well, there you go.
It could.
I haven't
I
had a
feel
lot
like
of opportunities to do horrors yet.
I was gonna say I haven't seen a lot on the creep scale from you. That's for in game for in books and stuff. Like you and I talked about it once.
Yeah, it's true. Not a lot of truly horrific things came up, or if we did do it, I mean, there's always some stuff, but we had a wonderful artist by the name of Reese Furman, um, who did some of the more truly horrific stuff for us on Iopos and
I
Empty
liked his
Thrones.
work. There was another one, Carl Pugh. I liked his work too.
Mhm.
Both of them could bring some serious creep. I'm liking this idea. I want to see James go down the rabbit hole of creepy. Make it scary. I want to have nightmares. That's what I want. I want it to be so scary I have to watch a cartoon before bed. That is the level of scary I want to see, sir.
That's the challenge. All
That's
right.
the challenge.
Challenge accepted. We will try to come up with something truly horrific later today.
See, this is how childish I actually am. I love horror movies. I do. But if it's actually truly scary, I have to watch a cartoon or something lighthearted before I go to bed, so that it kind of has a break so that I don't have bad dreams. Is that sad?
I don't think so. I'm a wuss generally when it comes to
Really?
scary movies and Yeah, trying
Oh,
to
I
drawing
will
something is very different uh,
watching.
than watching it up on the screen where you got s- sound effects and people. You know,
I will
I
tell
mean,
you
and
right
actors.
now, you want to get into the truly messed up stuff. You kind of have to go to like Vietnamese or Korean. Like some of their stuff is just dear heavens no. Eh, I got
So I
told that
realized
I need to look into Mexican horror, that they've got some really wicked stuff now. So,
right on. So I realized I went away from the screen without actually explaining what I was doing. I was going to grab another texture sheet here, and
is that like a leather texture?
it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of burlappy, I
Oh.
think.
Oh, so
But we're
more
just
like
gonna
our stonewashed jeans, Brad. Haha.
do the same thing. We'll get our selection. I didn't do his hands either.
What?
I
No,
gotta
no,
do.
no. You are so wrong, Matt. We need to totally do creepy nightmare picture. Because, like I said, James has never really gotten to do something. I think truly all James's idea horror. I'm absolutely fascinated on what he's going to come up with. Oh, we're using the lasso thing again.
Yeah, we're gonna. It's a cheap trick, but again, it's something that you can do.
Well, I mean,
It's
isn't
something
this
that you
kind
can
of
do
the
digitally.
the perk for doing these um, digitally?
Oh, absolutely. It's not a thing that can be done, and it's kind of an important tool for being able to work quickly. And it's not even really like if I were getting really fancy with this, I would do each piece individually, and I would try to warp the image so that the texture actually sort of flowed like with the shape of his cowl or his pants. But we're not going quite that fancy. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to change it because Obsidimen tend to be portrayed with these really vibrant colors. So I'm trying to pick a color, find a color that's similar to um, one of the ones from the image on the right there. He's got sort of a sky or a baby blue.
Yeah, it's a sky almost tealy color.
Yeah.
Hello, dragon. Did you want to talk about things? We're not talking about things right now. Don't sneeze at me. I feel kind of
Okay, he's
bad.
got purple.
My Facebook
Yes.
Messenger keeps popping up because today is a certain day. So I'm getting lots of notifications on Facebook. And I'm sorry that those
Oh,
keep popping up.
well,
Probably going to happen all
I
day.
cannot see if so.
That's good. So then it's not, at least it's not bothering you. But when people watch this to the recording, they're going to get these pop ups. And I'm sorry. Probably going to happen all day though. Dragon has opinions, probably about your art, but definitely opinions. Oh, you can actually give it like borders. That's cool.
It's it's just shapes, just like everything. It's just shapes.
That That sounds like artist, like, I don't know, modesty,
Lies.
lies.
Just for
I'm
lies.
trying to say this nicely. It sounds like lies. As someone who can draw every one of the shapes you put up there, I will have you know I still can't do this.
It just
No.
takes practice to learn how to arrange them the way
Come here.
that you want on the paper. It's like saying you can't sing. I mean, technically everybody can sing. It's just, can you make it sound the way you want it to sound? Not everybody can do that.
That's very true. I used to be able to sing long ago. The earth was green, there was pterodactyls. Long ago. All right. Morty M says that he looks really good. There you go, Dire Sith Lord. That's what it. Artist propaganda. It's just shapes. Oh my gosh.
Shapes. It's not this black voodoo. It's dark magic.
It's obviously some sort of dark magic voodoo. Look, dude. I brought out the glitter glue. Blood sacrifice. Tell me how it's just shapes. I raspberry you. So because you have some areas already darkened and lightened, when you put the other stuff on top of it, it keeps those highlights.
It does. I've also changed the blend mode over here to soft light. So when changing the blend mode, basically affects how the layer will actually interact with the layers underneath. So yes, in this case, it's preserved areas of shadow and light that I painted underneath it and just sort of put the texture on top of it. Like if I were to set it to normal, like just like its pictures or its source image from the internet, um, this is just sitting flat on top of it, and you can see the granite photograph. But by changing it to the various blend modes, it will actually interact with what you put underneath it differently. And so for this particular one, I chose soft light. That tends to be the one that I use most often when it comes to blending modes. But the pixels on the current layer affect the pixels underneath. So if the texture layer is a little darker, it will anyway. Yes, it allows it lets the texture layer, this one right here, interact with the layers underneath. So I had forgotten about the jade. I had started to put some stuff in and promptly forgot about it or got distracted by something shiny. I'm not sure which exactly.
It was probably a cat. I'm told they're very distracting. I mean, Mortium ditched us to go feed a cat, so.
Feed 4 cats.
Oh, sorry, feed 4 cats. You probably ought to feed them. Cats will eat your face, so I suggest feeding them.
And I still have to feed the feral out back.
Isn't the point of being feral that you don't feed it? So it can eat like mice and squirrels?
Yeah, he really wants to be an indoor cat, but doesn't want to enter the house.
That sounds like a cat. So what do you think of his red evil eyes?
Love it.
Oh, excellent. It's really hard. It's got. I will say it's hard to make a character not with red eyes not look evil. There are some things that are just tropes for a reason.
They really are. So did Wall get mistaken as evil often because of the red eyes?
No, not really.
That feels like a thing as a game master I would totally punish a player for. Like if they insisted that the character had red eyes, I think everybody in town would just assume they were like an evil wizard.
I can say that.
As long as I get a circumstance bonus to intimidation checks, I'm cool with that.
I would be okay with that too. It's the great thing about playing in these games. We can totally make both of those work. And make for some really cool role playing.
So, Jade. Let's find a good green color. Like that I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way.
So after you come in with this bright green, you're coming back in with your other colors and kind of toning it down.
Yeah, well, imagining that there are sort of trying to make it look like they're interacting with each other. That you can just slap green on top, and that's not to say that it couldn't happen that way, but there's probably um, the veins of jade running through. I guess I'm imagining the veins of jade um, running through our friend's skin or muscles or sinew or whatever here. Could change the surface of the skin. Maybe they're slightly raised or slightly deeper, in which case there would be like a shadow cast by them, or maybe they just maybe, maybe they just it's another sort of like little ripple of the granite that the jade was able to um, push its way through this. Maybe the darker rock is slightly softer than than the lighter parts. So the jade was more easily able to like push its way through where the darker stuff is. So just trying to imply uh, interaction between the jade bits and everything else in there. How much time do I have? We got about a half an
You have
hour
about a half
left.
hour, yeah.
All right.
You're doing fantastic.
What do we still need to do here? We haven't
And
paid a lot of attention to his lower half here yet, so we should probably take the last half hour and do
I was gonna
the
say,
lower half.
even his hands actually look like hands, and hands are hard. So are noses.
They certainly can be. It's got a dark side thing going on. And so how can we either simplify his bottom half so we don't need to agonize over every little thing? Oh, his gauntlets also. His bracers also need to be done.
I thought they were cool looking.
Well, actually, that's an interesting question. What are bracers of Obsidimen strength made of?
Well, Mortium, any
Let me look
suggestions?
that up.
All right. There might be a technical answer. They're made from pieces of Obsidimen you defeated in battle and then took chunks of and put. Wouldn't that be morbid? Pieces of Obsidimen strength. First, you have to skin an Obsidimen, and then tan.
There is Obsidian hide armor.
That's kind of dark. Like
Almost as
Windling
bad as
armor, you have to
Iron-
like get a whole bunch of them and sew them together like rabbit's furs. Can you just picture the little windlings all like sewn together like rabbit's furs? That would be awful.
I think we're needing a material for our hag later. She'll be dressed in wind armor.
All right, what about the Obsidimen Gauntlets? What are they made out of?
Look,
I was going to say, if you wanted to disguise the lower half, what you do is you draw a box and you put the box in front of the lower half, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's also why all characters have their hands drawn behind their back. Can't see the hands anymore, they're behind the back.
Don't even have to worry about it.
See? I'm helping. I'm a good helper.
these braces are shaped from stone and will form perfectly to the owner once a thread is attached. Usually they're both made from a single stone and are functional in appearance. Some will have small decorations in the form of metal inlays or carvings. While they are termed Obsidian strength, the Obsidian can benefit from them and are generally believed to be the originators of these items.
So they look like they're made of stone.
Yes.
All right. So let's go back and take out some of the stitching then. still have it be a different color. I feel like perfectly molding to the wearer is kind of cool. But I still think there could be like a color or a value difference here, just so they don't like blend in. They could be like rocky. There you go. Those bracers. It's like they never existed. I feel like I have elongated his forearm too much. Like one forearm is longer than the other. Nope, that looks too short now. Maybe I was just being crazy.
That's good.
There we go. We'll just trim a little off.
Yeah.
This is sort of did something I shouldn't have done in two elements. I shouldn't have put his hands in front of the light stone. But to be fair, at the time, when I started, I didn't realize it was a light stone. So we've sort of hidden the light behind his hands, which is not great.
Well, maybe he's trying to sneak and he doesn't want people to see him.
There you go. Perfect.
It's really hard to sneak with a flashlight. Just saying. Helping him out. I'm mostly watching Dragon decide whether he wants the bed to have popcorn in it or to eat the popcorn. Since he put the popcorn in the bed. Dragon can be quite silly.
We'll try to make this more like a wrap, less like armor. It's almost feeling like Greaves there for a second, and I don't think that's quite right.
So, what is the hardest part for you to draw, James?
Oh my, what a question. I guess feet, and I think it's mostly because I don't practice it a ton. Like you do lots of like portrait work where you're like There we go. There's a happy person, and by the time I get to the feet, I'm like, sorry, I'm out of time, or I'm bored with this now. So I don't.
Don't spend enough time looking at feet. That's
That,
okay.
you know what, that must be it. Actually, that was a million years ago. That was one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, was to
To
just
look at
as
people's
an
feet.
exercise. Well, not just look, but actually go on. At the time, I would go on the subway, and the goal was just like draw 100 hands, like from people on the subway, draw 100 hands and draw 100 feet, and that went a very long way to increasing my comfort level drawing feet. It's just practice.
I was gonna say, are you gonna try to say that practice is important?
I
What?
think that's exactly what I'm saying.
What?
The
Crazy talk.
Yeah, just if this is a thing that you are interested in doing, draw every day. Doesn't matter for, I mean, longer is better, but it doesn't matter for how short a time. Draw every day, and yeah, and that's really it. I was trying to find. I'm not always successful. Life can get busy, um, but always try and do at least even just like a little 15-minute doodle. Try and draw something every day. This Don't know that I'm gonna have enough time. It's a weird and the big finish. Feet. I'm gonna spend the
Well, you've still
there we go.
got about 20 minutes left.
That's right. Again, just trying to figure out um, maybe there's a way that I can cheat it. Oh, well done. All right. Again, brilliant part of is this on a separate layer? It is not. Now it's on a separate layer. So now, you know, what we've done is we've basically turned his bottom half into a silhouette, and then his top half can keep all of the lovely detail that we've put in. Now, just enough.
That's cool. That's even
That I
better than
don't
my
forget.
box idea. But I assure you, just put a box in front of it or a pretend table, covers up all that.
Right? Perfect. Yeah, just try to make it so that we don't have to, spend our last 20 minutes eyeballing his great big feet.
Well, you know what they say about obsidian with big feet? They don't have genitalia. That's what they say. I like the blue and green. It definitely gives a pop. And it kind of tones down his red eyes a little.
He does. He's looking a little less Sith-like because we didn't give him a bunch of black
Yeah.
clothing. So actually going in, sampling colors directly from I don't know if this is the original Obsidimen art or where this came from exactly, but
The big
oh,
picture up on the top, I
yeah,
believe is
I
like the
see it here.
original from the first Earthdawn book. I would have to pull it off the shelf to double check though. If I remember
Always makes
correctly,
me
it
happy.
had color panels. Oh, pull my book off the shelf. Yes, yes, Yuji. I put a book in our lap. There we go.
Always makes me very happy when I can reference the original art. Now, I've also seen lots of Obsidian with these symbols painting on them. Does Wall have any symbols painted on him?
Not permanently.
Okay, so that is not from the first book. I'm trying to remember what book that stuff's from then. Put book back on shelf. I'll find out where. I know it's in one of these books.
Brad is saying he thinks it's a second edition picture.
It could be a second edition. I'll have to. I have that on the shelf too. I know everyone's surprised. I don't know if I want to get up and get those pulled out yet.
I realize I should be talking, but the more talking I do, the less drawing I do.
Well, okay. Is there any really great Wall stories that you think need to be told before we end? So we'll make him talk and not you. Ta-da.
I mean, Wall's been known to do things like take members of his own party who have fear of heights up to a tall tower and jump off of it.
Why would he do that?
Show off the wind catcher ability.
You know, you can do that without dragging other people. I'm just pretty sure.
It's not nearly as funny.
So, well, there's that. So is that a it's in the first edition handbook in the color section after page 64. Let's see. All right, get this back out because maybe I missed it. All right. First edition Earthdawn hardback. Oh, it is. There it is. I missed it. This is where all of those, the dwarf, the elf, the human, Obsidimen, orc, troll, Trespiring, and windling. All of those full page ones like what you show up there. They are all in the first book. I just missed it when I looked. That's what I thought they were. But now I can't put the book back on the shelf right. I will do that after the stream. Thank you, Matt. I think he's looking really good.
Yeah, I think so. For the
So I have still a question. On the gauntlets that
Okay.
kind of mesh in, are you going to put like a different texture on them? Or are we leaving them where they truly have kind of just melded?
Well, there is a bit of a value difference. I mean, and
Uh-huh.
if they're meant to be rocky gauntlets that blend in with a rocky skinned person, well, what we'll do, let me do this. We'll select them.
We don't have to do anything. I was just asking.
Well, the intent was for them to be a little bit different, but I think it was going to be a little more subtle than perhaps we were going to start with. So we'll just
Started with the idea they were leather.
yes. So we've duplicated our gauntlets here, which means we can make them darker now. So we'll start with value, and we'll change their color a little bit. Actually,
Ooh, I like the purple.
kind of fun, yeah. And then maybe, what if I go back to the old internet and cheat again? Rock texture. Let's just see what we get. Rocky mountain texture seamless. Great. See what happens.
Dragon honey, were you hungry? Yeah.
Oh, actually, I like that texture all over. All right, great. Let's make it a whole thing. And we'll do our little selection again, this time not forgetting his hands and torso. Oh, actually, it's supposed to be his whole arm, wouldn't it?
I say I find these so fascinating to watch.
Just do their hair and stomach.
And again, just as a reminder, if anybody's interested in having James do a personal piece for them, a commission, you can happily reach him. If you're not sure how to reach him, you can always come to the Discord and direct message him or email me, or I'll get you in touch with him, whatever you need.
You will have to have a cage match with Andy, though, because that will mean I will have to take time away from Earthdawn stuff.
Yeah, well, money's money. and we don't pay well. So new toys, new cool toys, you know.
Actually, what that just did to his face is actually really cool. I think it needs to be a little less pronounced.
It's kind of almost like he's been scratched, like he has scars.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
Yep.
What are you thinking, Mortium?
Paul doesn't really get scars, and I have to tread very carefully because, fortunately, the GM's not in the room. Because anytime I point out that, you know, his wound threshold plus his armor rating makes him practically unhurtable, the GM tends to take that as a personal challenge, and everyone else dies from splash damage.
So then why are you trying to start fights with your GMs? See?
I don't.
I see how you
Wall is
players
there.
are.
Wall is there to take the beating so everyone else doesn't have to. though, turned Mossback's pet Crojan to a undead horror construct, things did not go well.
I think he's looking really cool.
I think how much time have we? Nine minutes. For 9 minutes, I think we're pretty. I think we're pretty good. I had to take away most of that texture because it was sort of. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I really like it, and if I were to spend another, like, let's say 2 or 3 days on this, I would probably 100% have kept it. Um, but it was competing, in my opinion. It was competing too much. Like it was overshadowing the other areas that don't have that rock texture. So I would have need to go back and basically up the game on all of the fabric areas and all of the sort of belt
I
thingy
think
here, which I now realize I want.
I think it's very cool. I will say you do not have a full 9 minutes. You have closer to 5 because I have to be able to stop the
Excellent.
stream and get
Right.
ready to open up the next one. However, I think this is pretty wicked. Mortium, what do you think? Does that read Obsidian Gauntlet to you?
Yes, it does.
Now, James, you don't mind if we send him a PDF version, right?
No, not at all.
Mortium, you do want a PDF version, don't you?
Yes, I do, for a number of reasons, including
Bragging
having
rights.
bragging rights, having it show up on the Alvear Rodeo tabletop on Tuesday night.
But yeah, he's pretty wicked looking. I really like it though.
Well, in the end,
See, your
that's-
artwork's so pretty. I didn't check the chat room as much as I should.
oh, I'm sorry. Did we have a chat? Did we miss a lot of questions?
No, we didn't miss a lot. There were some comments, and you caught most of the ones that I didn't catch right away. I'm just saying, your art's so pretty. I wish Dragon would lay back down. It's gonna be a really cute picture. So while we've been doing this, he's been trying to get Gotti to play with him. And he actually had just laid down with Gotti. But you can see like the 3, 4 toys he's drug over there. Trying to convince the German Shepherd to play with him. All right, James.
All right.
You've got about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right.
Although
Talking-
it's phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty enough to take home to visit and meet your mama. Joel likes it too.
Oh, excellent. Hi, Joel. We need more comments. Oh no, you're up afterwards. Maybe you just arrived.
He's been here for a while.
Ah,
I was gonna say Joel is Joel next? Joel might be next.
Yep.
I think so.
believe-
Because
Times are next.
Oh
I
yeah,
believe
it's
I
bi-
have-
it's the baking one. We're gonna learn how to make proper traditional scones.
yes. Actually, oh, you know what I could
Dire
do?
Sith
So I
likes
mean, we
it
could sort of.
too.
Oh, excellent. We can sort of review all of the layers. I mean, for all of my wanting to start with as few layers as possible, we started here and slowly but surely added texture and color, and then one more details. Do we really need that? It's not actually adding as much as I'd hoped.
So
Maybe I'll just
W.
take it off.
Socrates, Matt said he's still amazed, even though he's seen you do this a few times. And I mean I am too. Like we start with nothing, and in 2 hours you have a beautiful piece. I would have a
Oh,
lot
thank
of
you.
stick figures in 2 hours, but none of them are beautiful.
We had, during the drink and draw last night, I was as I was listening, I was drawing a windling shaman.
Mhm.
And then what else have I been doing in here? Oh yes, last year or the year before, we did Krathus Gron,
Yeah.
uh, and uh, and I felt like I was like, "Oh, I could do that again." I've been having orcs on the brain a lot lately.
I
I
mean
thought
that
maybe
that happens, right? That's normal. Oh
right.
wow. You did that last night?
No, oh goodness, no.
Okay.
This was last night. This one is actually a couple weeks almost of work actually. So
That's
it's
that's wow.
so at any rate, but I think I just killed my last couple of minutes.
You did. All right. I would like everyone to say thank you and goodbye to James.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. It was a ton of fun.
Beautiful.
Thanks for sticking with us. It's a long 2 hours.
It is not. It is amazing what you do in 2 hours. With that, I will be stopping the stream.